I talk a lot about attic ventilation because the Achilles heel of the home is how the moisture that's created in the house can get out. That's really, really important. I've said many times that the only reason you have a roof is to keep the rain out. Other than that, it really doesn't have any purpose. I've gotten some feedback lately that people don't have a clue what I'm talking about. I drew a couple of pictures and thought I would kind of go through some diagrams so that folks could understand the language, the lingo, and the way this works. So here's my first one. So this is your typical A-frame attic. All right, so looks like an A. All right, so this area down here is called the soffit. And this area up here is called the ridge vent. And this down here is the house. So all the moisture that's created in the house goes into the attic. You think drywall and insulation is like a barrier of some kind, but that's not true. Moisture goes through drywall pretty easy. All the moisture down here goes up into the attic and has to get out. So down here, this is called the soffit. And this has holes in it, whether you have aluminum or vinyl, it doesn't matter. You're going to have holes right in here so the air can enter the holes, come up here, and then you're going to have insulation right here. So to hold that insulation back away from the roof so it doesn't get choked off, you install what's called a baffle. And when you go to the store and you buy a dozen eggs, that thin styrofoam, you know, they sell that in 4-foot long sheets, and there are these little pooches on that sheet, and those pooches hold that board off of this roof deck by about 1.5 inches or so. You pull the insulation back, you put this baffle in, and it allows air to come in through the soffit between the baffle and the roof and come into the attic. And then it exits through the ridge vent. And there's about 4 different ways that you can install an exhaust system. We'll talk about that later. When we discuss properly ventilated attics, what we're talking about is a balanced system. The International Building Code says that you should have 9 square inches per linear foot here and here, right? 9 and 9 is 18. And then at the top here, where your 2 pieces of plywood meet at the apex at the very top, you have a 1.5 inch cut. So 12 inches times 1.5 gives you 18 square inches per linear foot. So 9 and 9 is 18. So that's a balanced system. Now you can have more down here than up here and not affect anything, but you cannot have more up here than down here. So if you, instead of having 9, you have 6, that's a problem. What happens is wind blows against the roof, and if you have less here than here, then air could go into the ridge vent and come down, bringing rain, you know, leaves, trash. And I've seen lots and lots of piles of material down here in the middle, right under the ridge vent. And it's because, and then I immediately know we have a problem with the soffits. The two issues here. One is if you're using a ridge vent at the top, there are 2 different kinds. There's a high profile ridge vent, and then there's a low profile ridge vent. I wish they'd quit selling the low profile ridge vents, but it is what it is. So when I'm talking about a high profile ridge vent, I mean it kind of stands off the shingles at the top pretty high. If you've got a 1.5 inch cut, that means the distance between the shingle and the bottom of the ridge vent has to be at least 3/4 of an inch. So you have 3/4 and 3/4 gives you 1.5 inches. And so that is the only way that works. A low profile ridge vent will only give you 1/4 of an inch, not 3/4, but 1/4. So it cuts the exhaust from 18 down to 6. And that's not going to work. That's why I'm saying I wish they would quit selling that product. I can't tell you how many times I go into a house and I can't even put my fingers, the tip of my finger between the shingle and the ridge vent. So I tell them rip the darn thing off and put something good on. They put them on because they're cheap, and builders, they do the best they can with saving every penny along the way. Problem down here is if you're a consultant, you cannot walk up to a house, look at the perforated soffit, and determine what is the net-free area. That's the whole percentage, the net-free area of the perforated soffit. Different manufacturers generate different products, and it's on the box, but the box is gone. And plus, this length here between the wall and the edge soffit, it could be 4 inches, it could be 6 inches or 8 inches. So, you know, the manufacturer gives you the NFA, the net free area per linear foot, but that's of a panel. That's not taking into account how wide or how deep this is. So it's really not possible for a consultant to determine what's the NFA here. All you can really do is say it should be 100% perforated. You should not have any soffits that's not 100% perforated. Whatever is the NFA, it's okay to have more down here than up here. This is easy to calculate. This is not, unless you know what the product is that you're installing. Then you can measure that length and come up with the proper NFA. So you can at least determine you have less than, you know, more than 9. So we're going to talk about this some more in some later clips, but this gives you a good vocabulary to work with. Bob Bennett, Farsight Management. Better use Farsight than hindsight. Take care.